and welcome to Teachers Who Coach. We are a fast-growing membership group that you'll find on LinkedIn, and our mission is to connect coaches to educators and bring a coaching culture to the world of education so that we can really bring coaching to those who need it, our young people and those who serve them. The group is an opportunity to connect with like-minded educators and coaches looking to make a transformational impact by empowering the amazing people who work with our students. And I'll learn to read at some point too. We do so much. We've got live calls every week or every couple of weeks. We're getting increasingly transparent now with our admin team meeting publicly, so you can join those meetings. And you can get involved and message any of the members on there to connect and to say hi and to learn about coaching and how that can support your work in education and the young people too. And if you do sign up and become a member, you have got a fantastic resource in Teachers Who Coach that we've got a couple of dozen coaches, I think, have signed up to offer a free hour of coaching to anybody else who's on the group as a discovery call. It's an amazing free resource for teachers who would like to find out about what coaching is and what coaching feels like, because you've got to be in a coaching session to properly understand and experience it. It can't be fully explained. I am joined today by Jean Ramsey. Apart from being an Oxford United fan and a boat owner and lover, she is a highly experienced coach who works with families affected by neurodiversity, including ADHD. A former long-standing head of drama, she founded Inspired Education Coaching in 2006 and has created a beginner's guide to ADHD, a group coaching program for parents and grandparents. Jean, hello, welcome.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Andy. I'm really looking forward to this chat.
Thank you so much for giving your time to us today. If you don't mind sharing with our audience, tell us about your relationship with ADHD and your story with it, and I suppose your story of coaching as well.
Well, I'll start with the coaching story first, because that will be right, chronologically speaking. So I came to coaching through a classic burnout, and I realise now in retrospect that I burnt out because I was perimenopausal, and that is exacerbated by ADHD. But at that time, I didn't know that I was ADHD. And coaching saved my life. It kept me in the classroom, because as soon as I did the training with the Coaching Academy, I remember thinking, oh my goodness, I could really take this into my work at school, into my work as a head of department, and into my family. And although you cannot coach your family, I call it guerrilla coaching or coaching by stealth, but they rumble you. They say, Mum, can we not just have an ordinary conversation, please? I'll just be your daughter. So and then to get to the ADHD, our younger daughter was diagnosed as having ADHD after working all through the pandemic as an A&E nurse and having post-traumatic stress disorder. And then we discovered that actually she got ADHD as well. And when she was diagnosed, only about 4 years ago, she said, and you know you've got it too, don't you, Mum? Oh, how very dare you? And then I began to do the research, and I thought, oh, I see. You know, so I messed up my A-levels because I didn't understand the difference between being busy and being productive. So I produced this fantastic, all singing, all dancing, color-coded revision timetable for my A-levels, but I probably spent longer designing the timetable than I did on the revision, because revision's boring, isn't it? You know, so many things have become clear to me now that happened because of your ADHD brain. We had a reunion at Bournemouth College, and I got the day right, but I got the time wrong. The reunion started in the afternoon and finished at 8 o'clock. I thought it started at 8 o'clock. So he was my fiance then. We rolled up just as everybody was leaving. And I said, "Where were you, Jean?" I was so upset that I'd missed that chance to reconnect with all my college pals. Oh, there are too many examples to list that show the effect of having ADHD on timekeeping, on organization, just on procrastination, all those things. But it's never too late. It's never too late for me.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to understand the chronology of your journey, because you became a coach, I believe, in 2006. And
I was a very early adopter.
I was going to say exactly that. You're an early adopter for coaching, and I'm going through the narrative of right now. Coaching is still quite new to educators and education. It has been around for a while, but 2006 is very early. Now, was 2006 before you were diagnosed with ADHD? And
Yeah.
so
I was only
I'm just wondering with that.
I only discovered the ADHD about 3 years ago.
Right. So
When our daughter was diagnosed, and she diagnosed me because she recognised the traits.
So I wonder with what it was that brought you to coaching when you did, because you didn't know about the ADHD at the time.
No. What brought me to coaching was burning out from classroom teaching and being head of creative arts.
Right.
So I had to have some time off just to regroup. And we didn't normally get the Oxford Times, but for some reason that weekend, while I was still recovering from my burnout, we got the Oxford Times, and I can see it now. There was a double-page spread. One half was be a mediator to work with people on the verge of divorce, and the other was be a coach. Now, my husband's a lawyer, and he said, "Oh, God, don't do the mediation. You're miserable enough as it is. You'll be dealing with people on the verge of divorce. Do the coaching." So it was, I must keep reminding him of this. But he says, "What are you doing now? What else? What other course are you doing?" It was all his idea. So I did a weekend taster course with the Coaching Academy in London. And that was the light bulb moment. And I thought, I can see how this is going to really help. And then I brought coaching into my classroom. And it was revolutionary, just fantastic. It really reduced the stress levels for all of us, because I really emphasized that we're working as a team. And I used we're doing this together. And you have everything you need to be a success. I'm just going to ask the right questions. And then my colleagues began to say, "What are you doing? So-and-so, he never used to listen, but now he's really engaged." And he said, "Ask Mrs. Ramsey." So that's how I did it, slowly, just starting with a small group. I asked my head teacher, who was new, and at that time, the underachievement of boys was the thing. So I said, "Could I run a pilot scheme? Can I have a small group of underachieving boys in year 10 and let me coach them?" And he said, "Jean, we'll try anything." So I had this, I think there was about 10 of them, and I treated them like clients. They came to see me for half an hour when I wasn't teaching in their lesson time. So that was a great plus. They were getting away from maths or whatever it was. But I made them choose a different things. I didn't antagonize my colleagues by letting them miss maths every week. I saw them for half an hour for 6 weeks. So that's just 3 hours in total. And to start with, I used the GROW model, but then I found something else that's better. And long story short, attendance improved, behavior improved, because they were the rump of a disaffection, and I got them to see that they could do it. They could see themselves as scholars and that they had potential. And some of them, not only did they pass, they got Bs. So that was the proof of concept that coaching for young people, and within, I could make the, no, I asked the questions, they did the work. So that was what got the ball rolling in my school.
Now that's such a beautiful story to hear, and at that stage with it being still very new in education, the revelation that you would have had would have been really, really powerful. You've got a fairly rare long view of coaching in education. You were there, let's say, at the start or very early on. What is your view on how coaching has or has not become more part of education over the years that you've been involved coaching?
Well, there's coaching, and there's coaching. And I'm very afraid that what I would see as real coaching has been hijacked by people in education, and they see it as a quick fix. I can tick that box. Whereas, as we said earlier, to be a really good coach takes a long time because it's so nuanced, and actually you're never finished because you're always finding a different model or a different book to read, a different nuance, or somebody just to watch somebody or to be coached by somebody. There's always something new, and that really upsets me, that there's something that masquerades as coaching, but it's not. It's a quick fix. It takes time.
It's fascinating, and that's probably a bit of an insight for teachers who are being introduced to coaching, that there are so many flavors of coaching, and with some of those flavors, it can feel like there's a dilution of the pure coaching that you now would understand. Too much of a lean on a certain structure, on a certain script. Sorry.
Especially in education, if it's not done right, coaching can be so detrimental to a member of staff's self-esteem. I have a wonderful colleague who was made to have some coaching when she moved to a different school, and the coach said to her, well, you just need to be a better person.
Wow, that sounds about as diametrically opposed to the idea of coaching, doesn't it? Because it's that whole idea of the principle of coaching is that you buy into it and that you opt into it rather than have it forced on you. But then the coach imparting that judgment, that sounds scandalous.
It was scandalous. And let me just paint a picture. We are talking about a deeply religious lady from Nigeria who does not need to be told, you just need to be a better person. So when she came into my sphere, and then she said, oh, this is nothing. This is wonderful. I wasn't looking forward to being coached again. I said, you weren't coached before. I am coaching you now. And it was like night and day.
Yeah. So I'll ask this and then we'll come back to I suppose what we plan to do. Can you, for our teaching part of the audience, can you in the best way that you can summarize what the coaching that we want to share is compared to the negative side of coaching that this teacher encountered?
Right. So pure coaching to me is non-directive. You do not give advice, and you are guided by your client, what it is that they want to work on. And I know from coaching beginning teachers, they know exactly what they need to work on. So you don't need to go in with an agenda that's been given to you by their line manager. That beginning teacher knows what they need to work on, that they're not so good at. And you just keep it simple. Don't go in with an agenda. And this is where it ties in with drama, because when I first started, I was so busy thinking about the next killer question that I was going to ask. I wasn't listening to what my client was telling me in answer to my first killer question. And I was thinking, no, this can't be right, Jean. And it felt too much like hard work.
Yeah.
And then I had the revelation. Aha! It's like improvisation in drama.
Yes.
Yeah, you go with the flow. And I've found this time and time again when I'm working with, because I also coach sixth formers in my old school. So I still go into school after all these years. And I have no agenda. And then suddenly the right tool will just pop into my head. It might be something that I haven't used for years, like NLP spinning or something like that. And it's just the very best next step for the young person that I'm working with. So it's keep it simple. Don't be directive. Don't give advice. Go where the client wants to go and just ask simple questions. And don't be afraid of violence, because the person in front of you, don't be afraid. When you've asked a question and there's a long pause, in that pause, mind is processing what you've asked. Don't jump in and fill the space. Just hold it.
Just, I suppose, a final point on teachers exploring coaching and going into coaching. I think something that's been on my mind has been, you could have teachers setting up a coaching space for young people or for the colleagues, and then if you've got on the one hand, you've got on the other hand the bringing in of aspects of coaching into your pedagogy so that you've got more questions going on in the class. What challenges do you imagine teachers have when they're trying to adopt a coaching mindset?
I think it's the big shift from being the sage on the stage to being the guide by the side. And I've taken a great deal of interest in the work of Paul Dix and his book, When the Adults Change, Everything Changes, and I've been influenced by Rob Plevin and his needs-based approach. And young people, when you first start teaching, you tend to see the as one, just, well, no, they're not. They're not. They are all individuals. They've all come to school with different experiences from home, different expectations. I remember reading about behaviour is a huge issue at the moment. Young people being disengaged, attention spans have become minuscule. It's a real struggle to keep young people's attention at the moment. And I've come to realise it's all about relationships. And what's going wrong is teachers are so burnt out, they're having time off, understandably, bringing in supply teachers, and the young people are testing supply teachers and get used to this dysregulated classroom. And I also read that some people, their homes are chaotic, that they reduce the chaos in the classroom because it feels safe to them. That's what they're used to. And there's huge conflict between a teacher trying to keep the learning and the young people who are not used to having these boundaries in the classroom. I really believe teaching is all about relationship, and relationships are breaking down right now because staff are overworked now and having to take supply teachers are being brought in, and the people are testing the supply teachers. They always do. Um, that's making the relationships break down even further, because supply teachers don't want to come back to the school because it's challenging. It's even worse now because financial situation of these schools so higher, they can't afford to bring in supply teachers, and they have to use already worn-out staff cover for even more burnt out colleagues who are at home. It's a really desperate situation. So if people could understand that it's all about building those relationships with the young people in the class and coming at it from a coaching perspective, that unconditional positive regard, that would make such a huge difference. And I love what Mark does when he says, asks permission of the young people. Would it be all right if I showed you this? Would you be interested in this? When I first with those pilot group of disaffected lads, they were not backwards by my asking their permission if they might take notes in the coaching session. Nobody's ever asked them permission anything ever before. It's that this ties in with Rob Plevin needs focused approach to teaching. Back to Rob Plevin and needs focused approach. He read William Glasser's Choice Theory, and I've read that book too. It's fantastic. He's also written a book called Choice Theory in the Classroom. And Rob Plevin would suggest that there are three main needs that young people need to have satisfied. And the first one is for power, and that's acknowledgement, choice, autonomy, control. So I always used to give my classes a choice. We could do this or we could do that. What would you like to do today? And we go with the majority decision. And then the second most important need is a feel of belonging, that you're part of this organization. I think that was an important aspect of my work with my pilot group of disaffected lads. They always felt outside of the organization because they didn't see themselves as good students. They were the disruptive ones. That was their reputation. But I was able to let them see that if they used these tools in classes, like active listening, they could become good students and they could achieve. And the third need that Rob suggests is that we need fun. Hallelujah. I used to say that was my favourite F word. I could see the class, what's she going to say? I'd say, all right. That's to be sadly lacking. Fun, the joy of learning, because the curriculum here in the UK is dire. It's stale, it's unappetizing, it's boring, and I'm not surprised that people don't engage.
Completely hear you, and in the prospect of return to the UK and to teach to that curriculum, it goes against so much of what young people need. Fun really matters.
Primary curriculum is even worse, Andy. What's your main subject?
It has been English over the last few years, but I've enjoyed teaching every subject. I know English has been just...
Right.
It's just...
Yeah, your fronted adverbials, all right.
If we go to ADHD, students with ADHD generally, how can coaching support those students who have got that diagnosis?
Because you will look at that child as an individual. So often I hear some of the young people in sixth form that I'm coaching, and they've come to me because they're overwhelmed and very anxious, and a lot of them are girls. And when we start to unpick it, I then say, I'm just wondering if there could be some neurodivergence here. And they usually say, I think so, but my mum doesn't think so. And she's a classroom assistant. And she says, I'm nothing like one of the boys in her primary school. And I'm thinking, but it's not you. We need to look at each child as an individual. And I like the idea that when you've met one person with ADHD, you've met one person with ADHD, because we are all different. I don't have the hyperactivity, but I certainly have the distractibility and the poor attention. I'm not ADHD, I'm ADD, I've come to realise.
Yes.
So it's looking at them as individuals and boosting their self-esteem, because we have had so many failures. I remember working really, really hard and then thinking, why have I not got such a very good mark in this exam? And then my teacher would say, Jean, you didn't answer the question. I'd go off on a tangent, as you've probably noticed. I'd bring in something that I thought was relevant. I think you should know this. And that I learned that when I started to teach, that you have to teach the young people how to be laser focused and answer the question, underline the key words, keep going back to the question to make sure that you've stayed on track. Because I just used to have a scattergun approach. And that's not being effective. So I think in a lot of ways, my experience of life has made me a really good teacher, because I want young people off at the pass and don't let them go down the rabbit hole that I've been down, because that just leads to poor self-esteem and I don't have happiness, actually. You know, what am I doing wrong? How are my results not so brilliant?
No, it is that thing that we discussed, I think, before we started to record, around how the education system has a way of othering neurodiversity when really what is the normal brain anyway. I start to wonder whether there is such a thing as a normal brain, whereas a coaching approach can actually speak to every individual unique child with whatever cocktail of a brain they've got. As you coach parents and grandparents as well as young people with ADD and ADHD. What challenges do parents and grandparents face that you find coaching helps them to overcome?
Well, for a lot of grandparents, ADHD wasn't a thing today. It was just 40 children, rubbish parents, no concept of what ADHD is. These young people, the way their brains are wired up. So my grandparents' course is like a bluffer's guide to ADHD, if you like. I take them through the history of it, what it actually means, what the traits are, and how every ADHD young person is different. And I stress that it's a team effort, because if your grandchild is ADHD, there's a very strong possibility that your child, their parent, is ADHD. And you know what, gran or granddad, you might be ADHD too, and that it runs in families. And once you tap into that, you be able to understand themselves and become much more self-aware. And what I want to emphasize is that these young people are not broken and they don't need to be fixed, but they do need to be listened to, and they need to learn how to use their unique brains for optimum performance. And grandparents have a huge part to play in this because they've got time and they've got space, and that little bit of overview of wisdom to impart to the situation. And they can offer that safe psychological space when mum and dad have been driven to distraction and they just don't want one more phone call from school to say how badly behaved their child is. Like I said to you before we started recording, we need to listen to the music that these young people are playing inside their heads. And we need to dance to their music with the young people. It's not their fault. It's just how it is, just like the colour of their eyes or the colour of their hair. It's the gift that they've got. Let's celebrate it.
I could not agree more about the idea of celebrating the diverse and beautiful kaleidoscope that is a human population. It just seems to run deep with so many educators that if you've got the ability and the opportunity to create the right conditions, the right environment, and you've got this safe space for that relationship building that you mentioned before, that any neurodiversity of the brain kind of falls away because you've not got a good number of the children in any one class thinking, I don't fit into the box of what's expected of me. So as we'll bring this towards an end. What can either educators or people with ADHD or parents with those with ADHD, what can they get from you, or what can they do with you with coaching to support them in their work or in their own journey?
Well, I have Facebook for grandparents of ADHD grandchildren. I have top tips for grandchildren that I'm very happy to share with. Or people can get hold of me through LinkedIn, and we can do, I like to call it, because I'm a sailor, I like to call it passage planning call. Yeah. So we can work out together what will be next best steps for you and your family so that you can communicate respectfully with each other. You can build happy memories together when you know how to communicate effectively with your ADHD grandchildren. And then you can build happy memories and not be embarrassed to take them out for ice cream because you're afraid they're going to have a meltdown. Because you know what the triggers are. You know how to head them off. You know how to distract them.
Absolutely. Jean, thank you so much for your time. And for those listening, we will apologise for any problems that we've got with the sound and with the video. But Jean, you've been such a delight to meet and listen to and learn from. And I urge everyone who's already in the Teachers Who Coach group to reach out to Jean. She's been a wonderful inspiration in this discussion today. And sign up if you're not a member of Teachers Who Coach so that you can get hold of Jean, and you'll be able to contact her through all of the ways that she's described. We'll put all of those in the description of the video so that you can get hold of that. And good luck going forward with your coaching journey. Jean, thank you so much for your time.
An absolute pleasure, Andy. Very nice to meet you, and I hope we meet again soon.
Wonderful. Have a good day. Take care.